What is up? Good evening, SEC After Dark. Got a great show lined up for you. The coaching carousel is in full swing. We got some small scrimmage called the SEC Championship game that you guys may have. Whatever, right? Well, we are SEC After Dark. We are on the Y'all's Conference Network. It's taken me a little bit to get used to saying that, but it is such a good sounding network. It's ever growing. It's great. But joining me to deliver this show is Stephen Willis and Jake Thomas. Jeb got so excited that Josh Heupel is going to stay at Tennessee that he just couldn't contain his dinner. In all seriousness, get well soon, Jeb. I think he has food poisoning, but that's neither here nor there. We wish you the best, Jeb. Wish you speedy recovery. But the three of us, it's going to be a three-man weave tonight. So, welcome. Matthew Perkins.
Look at that.
Welcome. Yeah.
Wow.
Matthew Perkins of Believe in Vandy and Believe in Badgers. You should check out his shows, too.
And we got a Facebook user saying Roll Tide, whoever that might be. I guess it's a surprise.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Yeah, so.
RTR. Roll damn Tide.
RT.
RDR.
I hate to do this. I have to do this, Paul. People are going to be pissed at me. So roll damn Tide.
Georgia ain't played nobody, Paul.
I'll hang up and listen. First time, long time, Paul. A little note about Matthew Perkins. He is him and the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein, are interviewing Chris Chambers on the Believe in Badgers podcast. Chris Chambers, formerly of the Miami Dolphins, and a Badger great. So they're doing big things over there at Believe in Badgers. So check that out after you check this out. I think that drops tomorrow anyway, so I don't think you can check it out anyway. So anyway, coaching carousel, right? We last left off Monday. We talked about some of the ones that happened that transpired over the weekend. We'll start with the most recent one that happened within this league. That would be Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly coming to LSU. I'll be honest with you. That was the one that came way out of left field for me. Didn't think he'd ever leave Notre Dame. Thought he had them. He actually has them in really good shape, knowing their limitations. But again, this one caught me by surprise because culturally, it's not a great fit. Coaching wise,
other than Catholics everywhere,
it is. Other than Catholics everywhere, this guy is going to probably spend too much trying to figure out what everybody's saying around him, trying to translate Raging Cajun. So.
This man is going from touchdown Jesus to neck.
Talk about culture shock. So, how do we rate this hire? I mean, football acumen-wise, it's a great hire for what he's done at Notre Dame with not significantly less talent, but like when you look at rosters like Ohio State, Michigan State, even USC, the Georgias of the world, the people on their schedule. Most of their opponents have better rosters because they don't have the limitations of recruiting, and he's been able to maintain a top 10 team year in and year out, making 2 playoff appearances and a national championship appearance. So I like the hire in that regard. I worry about the culture fit, and I worry that he's a little bit of a rolling stone when it comes to staying at different jobs.
I think he's a good fit personally. I think he's going to win football games because he wins football games everywhere. Now, one thing right before we came on the air, it was like Tommy Rees is staying at Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman is getting hired as the head coach. So he's losing both of his coordinators. So what will LSU look like next year without those guys coming to town? And also, who would have thought that Marcus Freeman, as Luke Fickell's defensive coordinator, would get the Notre Dame job before Luke Fickell? That's kind of bizarre to me.
Maybe there's some things behind the scenes where Luke Fickell didn't really want to leave Cincinnati. Again, he's a Cincinnati native, so maybe he wants to stay. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he was asking too much money. Maybe Marcus Freeman is better coach than Luke Fickell.
Maybe he thinks Ryan Day is going to go to the Bears after this season, and Ohio State's going to come open.
Poor Justin Fields. Wait, no, that'd be a good thing for Justin Fields.
It would
Yeah,
be.
make that happen. Yeah. So yeah, Marcus Freeman. I think he's going to do really really well. He's going to recruit really well there. He's got a lot of energy, young guy. Really kind of like what he's doing and the defenses and things that he brings to the table and the acumen that he brings. I mean, he's a good coach and he deserves it. It's well deserved. But going back to our comment section, check out Believe in Vandy, where Ryan Seymour, former offensive lineman, NFL offensive lineman, and I go off on the mediocrity that is the Commodores. So if you really are a true Commodore fan, that's or or just a fan of Matthew Perkins, you have to.
Now is that mediocrity like compared for like Vanderbilt mediocrity? What would be mediocre for them? Because if it's talking about normal mediocrity, Vandy passed that long ago. They'd love to get to mediocrity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because right now they're downright pitiful. But
yeah.
Also,
sorry,
Luke
Matthew.
Fickell, the only job he leaves. Hey, he's a Badger at heart, so he doesn't really care. So he said we would kill for 5 and 7. Fickell, yeah, I think Fickell is OSU or he's not going anywhere. Because I mean, let's face it, Cincinnati's going to the Big 12. So, yeah, that's what it is. So he's going to be a Power 5 coach in a really good situation. So he's going to hold out until Ryan Day, because Ryan Day's probably not going to stay forever. He's going to test the waters in the NFL. So that's what he's banking on, at least, I guess. So
Detroit Lions will come open this year, so
nobody wants that job, man.
No.
I do think there's a shot he could get the Bears job.
Yeah, I do too.
Because Nagy's pretty well toast at Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he has that connection with Justin Fields. That's his best chance.
Yep.
So, which would actually probably be a good fit as far as quarterback head coach. Now, again, the whole college to pro thing is a different animal, because the way you coach a college kid and the way you coach a professional are light years apart.
It is.
I
So
was about to make a not an Ohio State joke, but okay.
There you go. Hey, you're full of jokes, man. Let's hear it.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Get my French's mustard and a golf ball, and we go to Nayland and just party.
There you go. Get some Titleist and throw some mustard. Yeah. So Brian Kelly. So all in all, Brian Kelly will do fine. Not sure he'll ever do great, but again, a lot of that's going to be because Ole Miss is going to be hell to deal with. Arkansas is going to be hell to deal with. Alabama's going to be hell to deal with. Auburn eventually will be hell to deal with.
A&M.
The West ain't going anywhere. Even Mississippi State.
Yeah.
The West ain't going anywhere. So,
Texas A&M paid their coach $100 million, $100 million contract to finish 5th in the West.
Yes. Just let that sink in for a second. Hold on. Just pause. Take a moment of silence. Let that marinate. Hold on.
He does have a win against Alabama, though, so that's probably what got him that contract.
And a loss against Coach O. Actually, several losses against Coach O.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Owned A&M. So he's got to find his next Kellen Mond is really what's going to happen. Or Jameis Winston just comes back for one more year somehow, and takes him to the promised land. I don't know, but they got to cure some quarterback issues, and they'll be fine. They're recruiting still really really well, so it's obviously not affecting them too much. But
maybe Brian Kelly can hire Ed Orgeron just to be his translator.
That's not a bad idea.
The problem is, why would any head coach hire Ed Orgeron? Because he does his best work as the interim.
Yeah, that's true.
And is there a better fit out there than Coach Orgeron going to Louisiana Lafayette? He's a literal raging Cajun.
I mean, we said on Illegal Motion, we did a whole Coaches Carousel episode that's out today, that dropped today, where we literally went job by job and discussed it. Right, we graded it, everything, the whole 9 yards. So we talked about that, like how the university could save money by hiring Ed Orgeron because now they don't have to pay a mascot. It's just their head coach. So like
Yeah.
that's one less person you have to employ, and that's probably $30,000 that goes right back into the budget, which in Lafayette that's probably goes a long way. Probably buy a couple helmets these days.
Also, if you want to look at Oklahoma, even changing gears, I mean, Big 12 after dark, SEC after dark, however you want to put a hyphen in there if you want to.
We're going all over the map right now.
Yeah. The two coaches that are leading for that job, people think, are Brent Venables and Dan Lanning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, obviously, I'm a Georgia guy. So this is going to come off as, oh, well, you're just saying that because he's at Georgia. No, I'm not. I think Brent Venables, what he has going for him is the fact that he's been in Norman before, so they're familiar with him. I just don't think he's a head coach type. And he's making $2.3 million. Why would he leave that?
Yeah.
I think Dan Lanning, personality-wise, has the personality, very similar to Kirby, actually, has the personality to be a head coach. I think he's going to be a great recruiter. He's going to be great in front of the media. He's going to be great talking to boosters. Just got a lot of energy. And it's genuine. So I think if it's not Oklahoma, he'll be a good fit somewhere. But if he gets that chance to go to Oklahoma as a head coach, I think they ought to get him because I think long term he will do a lot better than Brent Venables. But Brent Venables is in his 50s. He is right there on the edge of just being a career assistant, and that's okay. That's okay. I mean,
he's close to John Chavis.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Much better than John Chavis will ever be and has ever been. And so I have a immense respect for Brent Venables. I just don't think he'd be a good fit as a head coach, much like Bud Foster. Like, it just wouldn't work out because he just doesn't have that personality. He doesn't have that drive.
There it is. Yep.
Bud Foster. Yeah, look at there.
Yep.
Look at there. Big
Chuck
SEC
Amato.
after dark. Yeah.
Although he tried to be a head coach.
And it didn't work.
It didn't work.
It did not work. He was like the assistant DC under Mickey Andrews at Florida State. So, Will Muschamp would be a good fit for Oklahoma. Nope.
No.
He's a career assistant too. He's tried twice.
The question on there is, where do you think Spencer Rattler will go? SEC? No, I think he's going to the Pac-12. I think he's going to Arizona State.
Ooh.
Arizona State, or I've heard Texas too.
I don't think an Oklahoma quarterback, unless they're that petty, is going to go to Texas.
Yeah.
You know Spencer Rattler?
Yeah.
He is that petty.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, whoever he signs with, this signing will be a double bird to either the NCAA or Oklahoma. That's what this signing will be.
And he prefers both, probably.
Yeah, and Sark probably thinks he can turn him into Tua, who, by the way, has been the best quarterback in the NFL for the last month. No big deal.
No big deal. You're Dolphins, apparently. You're no longer a Saints fan, Steve.
No, I'm always a Saints fan. I've been hoping for a year that the pressure that Tua wasn't very good was going to make them get rid of him so they could fall to Sean Payton and Tua would become a Drew Brees 2.0 because that's what he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would be nasty if he went there.
The guy, the Facebook user brought up Spencer Rattler, but my question is, where's Caleb Williams going to go? Is he going to follow Lincoln Riley out to USC, or is he going to stay at Oklahoma? I'm thinking he's going to go to USC.
I think he goes to USC.
Yeah. It depends on NIL.
Yeah.
He's going to go where the deal is.
If he goes, he's going to USC.
What they're doing to Oklahoma and USC, this has been the most vindictive, petty thing I've ever seen. Recruiting is what it is, and however you take it. But this feels personal and intentional. And all these players transferring away, it reminds me of Ole Miss when they went on probation in 2017. And Jim Harbaugh was camped out at the IHOP to get Shea Patterson and things like that. That's what it feels like. Although Oklahoma's done nothing wrong. But the rumor is that Lincoln Riley was against the SEC move. And he was looking to get out because of the SEC move. And when he did, he just decided to build his own program in his own image that he did in Oklahoma at USC, and the easiest way to do that is with Oklahoma's players. It's bizarre. The good news is Oklahoma's going to get to sign 32 this year. That's about the only good news.
Yeah, it is. And whoever is the head coach is going to be the beneficiary of that. Then he doesn't have to worry about Mark Stoops. He signed an extension today with Kentucky, got himself a raise. I think he just wants to be there, and that's good for them.
That's very good for them.
Yeah, the rumor is Lane Kiffin has about a $9 million extension just waiting to be signed. That'll probably go public in the next week or so.
And then Kirby, I'm sure he's making only 7.5, so I'm sure he'll get that bump.
I saw the thing about free Netflix. All right.
Yeah, I mean that was the kicker in the deal, man. Free Netflix. So Jake, your Tide Talk partner, Stacy, is talking about Pete Golding to Louisiana.
Yes.
Are you happy about that? For multiple reasons.
I mean, Pete, if he wants to be a head coach, that'd be a good starting point. He's got a solid foundation because Billy Napier left it in a good, in a good
Really
program.
good shape.
Yeah.
Really
So
good shape.
if he wants an opportunity to see how he can do as a head coach, that would be a perfect spot for him. Because, honestly, I don't think the offensive or defense coordinators for Alabama will be back next year. I think it's already kind of had been really released because Saban don't really try to get rid of anybody during the season. But just the way the teams played, I think that they're both going to be gone at the end of the year. So they're probably looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bill O'Brien's got to be gone. I mean, just him not being able to run the ball is an abomination.
Yeah.
That should never happen at the University of Alabama. Pete Golding going there would be good. Lincoln Riley to USC. I think it's a good fit culturally, offensively. I think if you're looking for a perfect fit, that is a perfect fit. Lincoln Riley to LSU would have just been weird. But Billy Napier, home run to Gainesville. I think he is. I think he's going to do really, really well there. He's a good program builder, great recruiter, something that they haven't seen in 5 years. So I think he'll do really well, and he may even convince AR-15 to stay. So that'll be pretty nice.
Yeah, John, Louisiana Lafayette. Welcome to Sunbelt After Dark.
Yes.
That's right. So the Sunbelt title game this week. I think no, just kidding.
Who's even playing in it?
Louisiana Lafayette and Appalachian State. I don't know why I know that. I just do.
It's on Bet Online. It's a line. So I took a speaking of Bet Online, I took a 12-game parlay for $10. I'm going to win $2,500 if I get it. If I hit it, it's all the FBS games that had a money line. I just went down the line. I was like, I'm just going to get bold here and pick all money line, so I don't have to worry about spreads. Drop $10 on it. Let's see where we go. Any other coaching news that surprised you? Any other things that we're hearing about some of the openings?
There's a rumor that Miami still could come open.
It's going to. It has
to. But it's all about them hiring their AD and let him proceed. But I think Miami is going to try to get Mario Cristobal.
That'd be stupid if he left.
And if he can't happen, there's going to be a bunch of turmoil. I think Ken Dorsey is like jockeying for the job at the moment. He's doing his own John Forcade stuff. And that doesn't make sense to everybody, I know. But John Forcade is a former Ole Miss quarterback, and anytime the Ole Miss job got open, he tried to get on staff, and he did unsuccessfully.
Nice.
So that's what I mean by that.
Cake. That's kind of sad, but Ken Dorsey is a legend in Miami, so there's that. But our week has been good. It's been weird getting used to being back at school full time for a full week. For me, I had that Thanksgiving break where I could just kind of relax and not have to hurry into school and deal with kids yelling at me and cussing at me and all that stuff when I tell them to just follow a simple rule of taking your hood down. So, well, that's going to do it for the coaching carousel for now. It's an ever-going thing, and things will we'll probably have this topic for weeks. But Jake, let's talk about this title game. All right, we have to first look back a week with the Iron Bowl. What was the good, the bad, and the ugly, and how's that going to affect this week's matchup?
The good was the defense. Defensive line played its best game of the year. Um, Philadelphia Mathis has pretty much owned the defensive line, but we had some other guys like Byron Young step up and have a really good game. Of course, Will Anderson's continues to be a beast. I don't know how anybody's going to be able to stop him. And Dallas Turner, opposite of him, has really come on the last couple of games. Secondary looked a little bit better than it has in recent weeks. Offensively, that offensive line, we got to get better at it. I mean, it's a struggle fest right now. We do have, I mean, there's talented guys there. I just don't know if it's coaching, if it's just not, gelling as a unit. I don't know what it is, but they've been struggling. And now with Brian Robinson, looking like he might not be 100% if he gets to play at all Saturday. We're down to Trey Sanders as the only, healthy / well, I don't know if he's really healthy, but he's the only scholarship running back we have on the squad if he, comes Saturday potentially. So, there's some struggles there. But I guess one of the positives on the offensive side was that last drive. Bryce was cool, calm, and collected still, and Ja'Cory Brooks looks like he finally showed up and might be that third option in that receiving corps. So there's some positives to take away. There's still a lot of negatives that has got to be rectified before Saturday. And of course, we still got Nick Saban, so it's kind of hard to go against him. But Georgia is looking very dominant, so it's going to be a dogfight. And man, it's going to be a fun game for sure, because I don't think either team's going to blow either one of them out.
No, to think that is just asinine, and that would just
Right.
be, a homer statement. Like, it's Nick Saban, that's Alabama. At the end of the day, they're still the number 2 team in the country. So there's that you have to contend with. But, I said this before. I think when you look at this Alabama team and how they match up, I think what goes in Georgia's favor, and probably the reason why they're favored by 6.5, is because the way they match up, the defensive line versus Alabama's offensive line,
Mm-hmm.
is a big mismatch, and it's not a talent thing; it's just an execution thing. Alabama's offensive line just isn't gelling. They're not coming off the ball. They're not creating run lanes like you're used to seeing with Alabama, and they just. I don't know if it's scheme wise, play calling, if they're just not, if they're just calling obvious runs and obvious rundowns and vice versa with passing, and there's just something that's missing from your offense that if that one thing gets fixed, it could be pretty dangerous. The thing that Georgia has to do and has to be able to do to stop this offense and get pressure on Bryce Young and force him into mistakes
Mm-hmm.
is they cannot leave holes in the middle of the pocket. If they want to get sacks, if they want to be disruptive to Bryce Young, they have to collapse the pocket from the middle. And they have to create a situation to where he can't really bounce around, because if he can bounce around and climb in the pocket, it's over. Because he could either tuck it and go and push it for 15, 20, or he can launch it downfield to Mechie or Williams and get a big play there. So I just think that when you defensively, if they can just kind of keep a muddy pocket for Bryce Young to where he can't really see what's going on, he can't navigate, they get some shots on him, they get in his face, and maybe they even get a few sacks, and maybe they even cause a couple of interceptions. Because if they can get Alabama to make some big time errors and be not careless, but not protect the ball, this could turn into a game where you're sitting there and it's a 10-point lead that Alabama just can't catch throughout the course of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, for the Tide, as they match up with this Georgia offense, I think that Georgia offense is in a place right now to where they could do a lot of different things. They have the ability. Their intermediate passing game has been pretty good over the
Mm-hmm.
last few weeks, and a lot of it's because Stetson Bennett has grown in his pocket awareness and his pocket presence and his movement. And I think he's grown in that regard, and I think he's a little bit more confident. You can see it the way he throws the ball. Do I still think he's the guy? I don't know. At this point, yes, I hope he is. But at some point, are we going to need JT? Who knows at this point? But I don't really care who's the quarterback at Georgia. I just want them, whoever it is, we have a good game plan for them, and let's roll. Where I think we can, Alabama's secondary has just been touch and go sometimes, Jake.
Yeah.
To me, when I see them, they give up too many big plays for my liking, for what their talent level is. I know they lost a lot, but it just seems scheme-wise, they're just something's off. There's way more busted coverages than I've ever seen in the last 5 years from Alabama.
Yeah, you're right. I can't explain it. And one of the issues that I've had with the secondary for the past several years is when they're on man-to-man coverage, they do not look for the ball in the air. They just look straight at the receiver, and that's it. And I mean, I just don't. I think that's how they coach them, because that's kind of what they do in the NFL. But I mean, if you get your eyes around you and try to find that ball, you can either make a play on it, knock it down, or try to intercept it. It's kind of funny because look what Trayvon Diggs did in the NFL. He's got like 8 interceptions this year alone. He only had 2 in his career at Alabama, and he's a 3 or 4 year starter. So I just don't understand. The secondary has talent, but they just now Jordan Battle's playing a lot better here lately, so that's a positive. And Brian Branch had a really good game the other night, and D'Amico Ryans was like a missile in the Auburn game. So maybe they're getting there, but it's going to be tough against Georgia. My biggest thing I want to see is how Georgia's run offense does against our rush defense, since we're 5th in the nation. I know they're going to try to establish the run early, so are we going to be up for it? And if we do stop them, would Georgia rely on Stetson Bennett way too much, and that might cause them to get in a little trouble?
I think Georgia's a lot more patient than most teams when it comes to that. Like when you go against a run defense like Alabama's, we have 4 guys that we can deploy. Zamir, James Cook, Kenny McIntosh, and eventually a healthy Kendall Milton. And I think he's going to get cleared this week. But you have 4 guys that you can roll in and out, so they can be a little more patient with the run game, because it's going to be tough sledding. But they're just going to keep pounding, and just keep doing what they do, because what ends up happening is those guys get tired of tackling Zamir. They get tired of tackling James Cook, because James Cook, believe it or not, is 220 pounds.
Yeah.
He doesn't look it, but he's 220 pounds. They're going to get tired of tackling those guys. And that's kind of how Georgia's run offense wears on you. Like it's 2 yards, it's 2 yards, it's 3 yards, it's 4 yards. And then in the second half, it's 2 yards, 3 yards, boom, 20, boom, 16, boom, house. And that's kind of how it goes. And that's kind of how you got to be. And a lot of teams aren't that patient.
Right.
So that's how I see that going. They're going to keep doing it. It's going to seem like insanity, but there is a plan behind that.
You know what I would do?
There is a plan.
If I am Todd Monken calling the offense, or not Todd Monken, Bill O'Brien calling the offense for Alabama, I would go as fast as I could tempo from the very beginning. It doesn't matter if you're hitting a sledgehammer against the wall over and over. Eventually that wall is going to give a little bit. We know how much tempo affects Kirby Smart defenses. It's important with the lack of depth that Alabama has on the offensive line, because it's a situation you need to be able to score 21 points in this game. You need your defense to shut Georgia down to keep them at 10 or 14, but you probably need 21 points. And nobody has done it this season. And I want to see tempo. They probably won't do it. I think Bill O'Brien will mess up and try and play Georgia straight up. Yeah. They're going to try to play him straight up. And it's going to be a situation that Georgia wins this game 24-10.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I think the first one to 21 will win. Um, with these defenses the way they are. So, I'd like to see how they're going to scheme against Will Anderson. I mean, you talk about a nightmare to defend. It's Will Anderson. I mean, outside of Jordan Davis and Kobe Dean, and I think Will Anderson is part of that trio of best players, best defensive players in the country. Throw in Aiden Hutchinson, and you got a pretty good defensive line right there. So,
Yeah.
and linebacking core, front seven people. I think those are 4 All-Americans right there. But I really, really, really like the way their defensive front gets after it. They can make a lot of big plays with sacks and things like that early. They can kind of disrupt Georgia's flow. I think if and that it can be very interesting. So for anyone to say that they're comfortable with saying this is a win, it's a lie. They're lying to you. So
you never get comfortable against Alabama saying it's a win. It doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
Nick Saban as the underdog this week, they get sky high. They have that Auburn game to look back on. I mean, this is a really dangerous situation for Georgia, and if anybody on the field can affect a quarterback and affect Stetson Bennett, it's Will Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if that guy works, Georgia's in a little bit of trouble. And I've been telling y'all for a month, the way you beat Georgia, and the only way you beat Georgia, is to hold them to 10 points and hope your offense can score 14. And
Exactly.
that's probably the game plan.
And if you hold Georgia to 10 points, more than likely you're going to get opportunities. And a team like Alabama is not going to squander those opportunities like Clemson did. Like Clemson had those opportunities. Clemson had it nailed. They held Georgia to 10 points. But
no offensive touchdowns.
No.
They couldn't piss a drop, man.
Yeah.
And on the only drive they really had, I think there's 2 pass interference calls on that, and they still only got a field goal out of it, I believe. I think that was when they got a field goal. So
Exactly. So,
yeah.
but what Alabama's offensive line has to contend with is not only Jordan Davis, but Trayvon Walker as well, Devontae Wyatt, and then Nolan Smith on the edge. Those are some guys you also have to contend with in the pass rush. So that's going to be a little tough. That's going to be a little tricky. So Bryce Young has just got to find ways to move in the pocket for Alabama. If they can go tempo at all, that might be good. Georgia the same way. If Georgia goes tempo a little bit, that might disrupt some things for Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to, they just got to turn on just got to watch these films and kind of see the opportunities Auburn had that they squandered. They got to see some opportunities that LSU had and they squandered, and understand that we are better than those 2 teams, and those are opportunities that if we can get those, that can give us the edge in the game. And Alabama's got to prevent that. So
and just remember, Alabama has played the number 2 and the number 3 defensive lines in the SEC and struggled pretty mightily offensively with both of them. Now they've got the number 1 defensive line coming into town, and a blueprint that those guys established in the blitz game to affect Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
They did it with Hooker. Hooker and Bryce Young are very similar style-wise. Hooker's a little bit more physically mature. Bryce Young, you get Jordan Davis landed on you. That ain't gonna be fun. So they just got to affect him. They just got to, they've got to find a way to rattle him, get him looking at the rush. Florida did a good job of getting him to look at the rush, and that's kind of how they let them back in the game.
Yep.
Because Bryce Young was looking at the rush.
Auburn did it too, and then they just randomly stopped blitzing him.
Yeah, that was Auburn's biggest downfall.
Yeah.
If they blitz on that last drive,
yeah, it's over because they
over.
were getting heat and he was looking at it. But once he was able to get comfortable, I guess that I was like a 4th and 7. He completed a pass to Billingsley, and that seemed to calm him down a little bit. And then he just started playing football, and you could actually see him calm and settle into that game. And at like 59 minutes into it, and just let him down the field. But that offensive line, and defensive line, the SEC is always going to be about the trenches. This game will be no different.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and I hope Georgia's offensive line, which struggles at times, does really well at other times. They're very much of a roller coaster. I hope they can hold up. I think Jamari Sawyer is firmly back in the lineup, so that'll be good for them. Um,
Oh, real
what?
quick,
Yeah,
Alabama, whenever their backs are against the wall and in a big game like this, they are a physical team. So you'll be able to tell early on with them hitting and them coming off the ball against Georgia's players exactly how locked in this Alabama defense is and whether or not it's going to be a problem at all. If that first drive Georgia goes down and score, it's over.
Steve, I got news for you. They're always physical, and Georgia's going to be physical too. I mean, that's just going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
black and blue game.
Yeah, this game is going to be fantastic. We've all been looking forward to this game all season long. Just this game in particular, and I mean, with everything that happened at Texas A&M and everything that happened against Auburn and even against Arkansas for some extent, that doesn't change the fact that Alabama's a 11-1 team going into Georgia. We all talk about Alabama like they're 10-2 or 10-3 or 9-3 is going on. No,
Some
they're
people talk
11-1
about them
team.
like they're 5-7. Some
Yeah.
people talk about like they're 5-7. Like
Yeah.
A lot of our fans talk like they're 5-7.
I'm gonna
mean,
be
we
perfectly
gotta-
honest. There's an Alabama fan base, a segment of it that are just absolutely spoiled.
Bad.
They could not survive Ray Perkins. They could not survive Bill
No.
Curry.
Nope.
no, they
And
would have lost their minds.
yeah, and Nick Saban's 70 years old. There's going to be a step back whenever he leaves
Yeah.
because there's no
Major step back.
yeah, there's nobody just to hand the
no-
ball to and keep it going because all the assistants are
There's-
gone.
There's
This
no
in
Nick
2015. Yeah.
Nick Saban is one of a kind. There is
Although,
not another one like him.
That video of Miss Terry greeting Nick Saban after the Auburn game was really, really cool to see him light up when he saw his wife. That was really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Well, everybody down, that's true Alabama fans know she runs a program, not Nick. So, so
I mean, those are facts.
Yeah.
Those are facts. I'm sure if you look at every SEC program, the wife of the head coach has run. I know Mary Beth has probably got a big hand in it. Mary Beth
And-
Smart.
and Miss Terry is not kind of not Dan Mullen's wife, where she kisses on all the players either. So,
That's good.
yes.
No, when I worked at Ole Miss one year, I worked underneath a video guy that came from LSU that was there when Saban was at LSU, and so he knew Miss Terry. So he would tell stories all the time about the Sabans and that's going on. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good. Please tell me Ed Orgeron didn't make all the wives rip their shirts off too. Hope that didn't happen.
There's no way he didn't try.
That's
Right.
probably true.
That's
Probably why I got fired at LSU.
Yeah.
Problem.
So the chat is alive and well. I saw a comment from John Davis saying Nakobe Dean is a beast. That's you have very good taste, my man. Lots of Alabama love. Go Dogs. Roll Tide from Cindy.
That is my mom, by the way. So she's watching tonight.
All right.
Okay.
Her fiance is a huge Georgia fan, and
Okay.
of course she says she's an Alabama fan, but she's really not. She's a Georgia fan now. But anyway,
she's been converted.
yeah,
And just so everybody can understand, in this game, I am rooting for Georgia, but I'm rooting for Georgia because I do not want to play Oklahoma State again in a bowl game. That is that is the only reason.
State.
No,
Oklahoma State wins and they're in.
Yeah, but not if Alabama wins too.
I think they're still in.
No,
I think
you think they're going to get in over Cincinnati?
Cincinnati is in.
I
if
think
they
the
don't
committee
lose.
will bump Cincinnati.
No,
I think the committee
No.
will be crazy enough to bump Cincinnati.
no.
I
This
do
is
think
2014 all over again when TCU and Baylor was number 5 and
Yes.
number 6.
Yeah, but I do think Houston will give Cincinnati trouble this week.
Yeah,
so it
I do too.
could happen.
That's why I picked it on the money line because I don't trust that 10-point spread.
No,
But yeah, so Facebook user saying for Alabama they have to come out and punch Georgia in the mouth. That's true for Georgia. They have to come out.
yeah,
Whichever team comes out and punches the other one in the mouth first will get the upper hand. But it will be a 60-minute slugfest war where they're just trading punches and whoever's left standing. It's going to be
Insert
it's going to be
cliches
like
here.
a Hagler.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a Hagler Hearns boxing match.
But,
Wow.
you know,
You just went mid-'80s boxing match.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
See
Marvelous
if you guys
Marvin
in the chat can figure that one.
Handler. Hagler.
Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Yeah, see if you guys on the chat know what that one is. So you can pick up that reference.
Here's Steven said that he's got his reasons why he wants Georgia to win, and of course I'm going to be a homer. I want Alabama to win, of course, but the reason I want Alabama to win is because it allows Alabama to get in. Georgia's still going to be in regardless, and they're probably going to beat both of their opponents and win and go in the national championship game. And how the media hates the SEC. So there's another big double bird to all the media pundits who hate the SEC if that happens again.
That would be the silver lining, but obviously, I want the damn hardware and I want that Alabama monkey off our backs.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, they basically agreed in principle today to expand the playoffs to 12 teams. There's a sticking point that they still want to negotiate. There's certain conferences that are demanding automatic bids for their winners. I bet you can't guess who those conferences are. They're not G5 conferences. They're P5 conferences.
The Big Sky?
Yeah. The SEC's like, no, just take the best 12. If there's 6 of us, so be it.
Right. That's how it ought to be.
Yeah.
So
And
the Big
the
Ten,
Pac-12 is
Pac-12,
like,
ACC.
we want to be in it. Yeah. Because this is the dirty little secret. If Michigan loses to Iowa, the Alliance has no teams in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that was a nice All-American Rejects punt reference right there, too. Dirty little secret.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
I'll keep you my dirty little secret. Yep.
Yeah. See, I'm bringing the heat with the references tonight.
You're hip. You're being hip tonight.
Exactly.
One more
I'm always
word and
hip.
you'll
What
be
you
just
talking about?
another regret.
Here we go.
My dirty little secret. Habit of choking in big games. They ain't choked yet this year.
No.
So let's see. This is
Well,
the
they
most
haven't
mature Georgia
yeah.
team I've ever seen.
They have not had a big game this year.
Listen, Steve, they've had opportunities to choke.
They would have choked us that first game.
Yes,
I mean,
they would have.
Yeah, the only points
They've had
Clemson
opportunities.
got was off of like 3 pass interference calls on one drive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And let's be honest. I mean, Arkansas came in top 10 ranked at the time. I mean, you can't overlook that.
yeah, but
I mean,
Arkansas
are they really
had
top
piss
10
going
team?
down
Well,
their leg. You could see the piss running down their leg.
That doesn't.
Jefferson
I mean,
only
it was
threw
like-
it
it was
13
like-
times.
Yeah, it was like three false start penalties to start the game. I mean, it was a
Yeah.
disaster.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia won that game before they ever kicked it off.
Yeah, they did.
they did.
But
I don't
they
know.
haven't
85
seen
Bears.
they haven't seen anything anywhere close to what they're going to
Except
see
Sport Coast.
Saturday.
Right.
That's my point.
No. Okay. Well, yeah. Just say that.
And Alabama's not going to fold.
They're going to win it because they don't know any different.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't.
Yeah, and
That's
Georgia's
the-
going to
that's
go into
why-
the game. They think they're going to win it because they've
Midway through
earned
the
it.
fourth quarter in this game. Watch this. And lo and behold, I mean they tested me a few times, but they won it.
Mike Bobo got fired for calling a toss sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
And that is the truth.
He just
So-
falls over.
Yeah.
That's karma for the kick six.
There's also a little bit of a horse collar there, but they used
Yeah.
that to drag him out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All that he could do there, exactly what he was taught, the recognition of what's going on in the game, it was top notch. It's what you would expect from a Nick Saban team. They should
Pull him
not.
out, I mean,
Mike Bobo
like it was
should
second
not
nature.
got around the end and turned it upfield. He should have been working to the middle of the field.
And as soon as he felt pressure of a defender, he should have just went down.
Yeah.
He should have just went. He's got to have some awareness, but again, it ultimately falls on the coach, and got to put him in a better situation than that. So, but we got some extra time, so let's talk some other title games. What Baylor? When I was watching that Bedlam game, I was trying to figure out can I figure out that Lincoln Riley's going to go somewhere because he's not really in this game, and B, Oklahoma.
He is a dude. And Oklahoma State, their defense, anybody that runs high tempo against that team is going to have success against Oklahoma State's defense. Because they are so complete.
Yeah, Todd Grantham knows a thing or two about that.
Yeah, and Oklahoma had to go slow because of Caleb Williams, because he's a true freshman. They were only going to speed up next year and the year after that. But the Jim Knowles defense and the defensive line, that's all good. I'll slowed down in the last year or two. It gives them a little bit of room to grow within the conference. So Oklahoma State is becoming a dominant figure.
And I think Oklahoma just again, what's the word I've used for them? Soft. They had an opportunity to bury Oklahoma State, and that's a rivalry game. Usually, Oklahoma can't wait to bury Oklahoma State.
Right?
And they do bury Oklahoma State,
and they did. And they allowed them back in the game, and Oklahoma State said, "Okay, I will oblige." And then Oklahoma State.
Quarter, whenever Oklahoma State is like, holy crap, we're better than they are. I mean, you could actually see that realization, and from then on, Oklahoma could do nothing, and Oklahoma State could do whatever.
In this matchup, they've had so many years where they were really good and right there with Oklahoma as being the best team in the Big 12, and then in typical Okie State fashion, they were just kind of, it was good to see, and I'm glad we get to see two completely different teams in the Big 12 title game. This is going to be a fun one. Dave Aranda has really 1.5-point favorites maybe with Bet Online. I'm going to look that up here as I ramble on. But and I think Jerry Bohan. Oddly, I'm rooting for Baylor.
Didn't Oklahoma State beat Baylor? I mean, they're not a slouch either, though. They're like you said, David Aranda's got that team rolling right now. So
they just play. They're not overly talented. I mean, Bohannon is really good. They don't beat themselves, which is really really good. And that's going to help them a lot.
You know what Dave Aranda reminds me of? It's like when you watch Baylor, they're young, they're raw, there's mistakes that are made every now and then, but they play clean. They know exactly what they are. They execute it. They're just the man-child. We haven't hit Saban at LSU 2003 time, but, I mean, it comes to calling a game.
Yeah, and the players know that. And they see that, and they respect that, and they play hard for him, and that's why they play hard for other places too. And he signed that big extension, so he knows they know that he's committed to them, and they respect the hell.
But you want to play for if you was a college kid, and Baylor was looking at you.
Yes. Another team I'm into our picks segment. Okay, I'm just picks. We're going to end with the SEC championship, so hold it. It's Western Kentucky versus the Roadrunners of UT San Antonio. Western is actually 3-point favorite runners.
Bailey Zapp, the quarterback from Western Kentucky, needs 9 touchdowns over the Joe Burrow's record. I kind of like Western in this game. North Texas just beat UTSA down.
North Texas just was on fire, and they were at home.
Yeah. But I'm going to take Western Kentucky because, until UTSA has to prove to me that they've stopped the bleeding for me to believe that it's happened.
Yep. That's not a bad pick. I'm just going to take the Roadrunners. They've shown it more over the course of the season. All right, Utah and Oregon rematch from a few weeks ago in the Pac-12 title game. Utah is 3-point favorites. And the way they beat down Oregon a few weeks ago leads me to believe that they have the ability to do it again, but Oregon is also well coached, so maybe it won't happen again, but that's not going to stop me from taking the Utes.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Utes as well. They've already got the win against Oregon, and they've already matched up with them, and they dominated that game. And I think they're going to come out and do the same as that game plan. And and maybe make adjustments at halftime. I just don't know if Oregon can keep up with them.
Yeah, I'm going with Utah as well. It's going to be a Utah, Ohio State Rose Bowl. So the Utes are going to play the game.
That would be a good game.
That would be a good game. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
The game we were just talking about, Baylor, Oklahoma State. I was correct. They are 5.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 46.5, which I feel like is pretty low for this.
That's very low.
So you might want to take the over for some easy money there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm rooting for Baylor, but I'm ultimately gonna go with the Cowboys here. I would actually take this in the money line because I think I don't know that they can quite cover the 5.5, but I'm gonna go ahead and take the Cowboys here.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cowboys as well. They're playing really really good right now. They're a stout opponent in the Big 12. So they've already got the win against Baylor. So give me the Cowboys.
How about them
Yeah.
Cowboys?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cowboys as well, just to get them out of the Sugar Bowl and any chance that Ole Miss can play them.
There you go.
So if Alabama loses, we'll have potentially Alabama versus Oklahoma State in the Sugar. That would be a great matchup.
Yeah, it could be a great matchup, and I think the bowl selection committee is also trying to get an Ole Miss versus Notre Dame matchup in the Fiesta Bowl.
That would be an amazing one too.
That would be fun. Utah State, San Diego State for the Mountain West Championship. I like San Diego State here. I think they're rolling. They're 6-point favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know much about either team, but I have watched a little bit of San Diego State this year when they was on late on Saturday nights, and I watched a little bit of the games. They're pretty good, so I'm going to take them.
The Fighting Brady Hoax going with San Diego State.
Got a boy. Clean sweep there. All right, Fun Belt Championship. Appy State 3-point favorites over Louisiana Lafayette. Even Bet Online doesn't acknowledge them as University of Louisiana. So I like Appy State here.
Yeah, is Napier going to coach the game? I hadn't heard if he was or not.
Probably.
Napier's coaching the game. Yeah, that was the requirement for him taking the Florida job. Was him not going to Gainesville until after this game.
I'm going to pick Louisiana Lafayette. Send him out on a high note, and the kids love him down there. And I seen something today saying that that they were really happy that he took that job because he's just a great guy. So I think they're going to send him off with a W in a conference championship.
Alrighty.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with Louisiana Lafayette as well. I saw them play Appy State earlier this year, and it was easy for Louisiana Lafayette, hard for Appy State, and I don't see how that's going to change in this championship game.
Yeah, who knows? Looking at the American Conference, Houston taking on Cincinnati. Cincinnati is 10-point favorites. I'm all over this money line, but I think Cincinnati. I think they'll cover. They'll make me sweat for a little while, but they'll cover.
I don't know. I think Houston is good enough to give them a run for their money, and I can see Cincinnati can probably win by a touchdown, but I think Houston's going to win and keep it close.
Yeah, I think the first game of the season they dropped it to Texas Tech. And after that, they've run off 11 straight wins. And then you get Cincinnati. I think this is going to be a very good football game. It's going to be like the Fighting Clayton Tunes out there slinging the ball around, and some of that Dana Holgerson, like, faux air raid that he runs. Like, he does a lot of under center stuff now and kind of changed this game after going to West Virginia. So it should be interesting. I'm going to take Houston to cover the 10-point spread.
When is that game? What time is that game?
Same time as yours, I believe.
That gummit.
Yeah.
I want to watch that game, but I have to have my eyes glued on the Alabama Georgia game.
And speaking of our game, we'll come back to that.
Right.
Who's going to win the Dr. Pepper shootout? That's the main thing I want to bet now. ACC championship. Wake Forest, Pittsburgh 3-point favorites in this one. This one's a tough one to pick. I like Wake Forest. I think they're going to keep it tight because I think they can score. And obviously Kenny Pickett was in the Heisman race for a little while. I think he can put up some numbers too. Wake Forest can't stop a nosebleed. So I think this game will be up in the high 40s, which usually lends it. Wake Forest is usually within 3 points of their opponent most of the time. So I think they at least cover, if not win outright.
Yeah, I'm going Wake Forest as well. I've seen enough of Pittsburgh against Tennessee to pit Wake Forest.
I'm gonna take Pittsburgh in this game. Clemson.
Dan Marino coming back or what?
Basically, the Lions, Wake Forest struggled, and they gave up 56 points to Army. So defensively, I mean, this could be a game that Pittsburgh just goes up and down the field. They get a couple of stops on Sam Hartman. Maybe Wake Forest turns over the ball. They win it by 14 points.
Okay. I feel you on that. That could definitely happen. Iowa, Michigan. I feel like this spread's I don't know. Maybe it's not too big. Michigan is 11-point favorites in the Big Ten Championship, coming at you from Indianapolis. It's a night game. I like the Wolverines. Iowa can't do anything offensively.
Yeah, I'm picking the Wolverines as well. I cannot stand Jim Harbaugh, but Iowa has zero offensive scheme right now. They can't move the ball to save their lives, and it could be ugly by the time this game's over with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and props to Josh Gaddis for taking the basic Jim Harbaugh offense and put it in modern formations, and to where it could be used. And they do tempo from time to time, but his power running coming from different angles, and I kind of enjoy that Michigan Ohio State game. I kind of enjoyed watching that and the Michigan aspect of that offense because that was a physical domination. Just from start to finish.
They showed you can be a power team from the spread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. That was a great statement. All right, and last and certainly most, the SEC championship. That's why we're here. We are SEC After Dark. Georgia is 6.5-point favorites in the Mercedes-Benz Dome over the Crimson Tide, the number 2 ranked Crimson Tide. My rule has been always pick Georgia no matter what, and always pick Bama no matter what. So I guess my rule is at a crossroads here, but I'm gonna have to go with the home team here for me, the team that's going to be wearing red. That is the Georgia Bulldogs. I think they cover. If they win, I think they cover. I think that's the only way they can win if they can somehow push about a 10-point lead and just kind of keep it there. I think that's going to be kind of what I can see that very easily happening because Bama is going to get one-dimensional and hurry, and that's how I see it playing out.
This is going to be a slugfest. I mean, it's going to be that right there the whole game. And, Alabama's going to have to play out of their minds offensively. I mean, we're going to have to get creative, and we have not been creative at all on offense this year.
No,
and
not a chance.
So I think it's going to be a defensive battle. And like you said, Corey, if either team I think gets a 10-point lead, it's over for whoever's behind. So it's going to be a slugfest. I do think Alabama's good enough to cover, but Georgia can win by field goal, or Alabama can win by field goal. But I got to take Alabama just because I'm the Alabama guy here.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
Yeah. When you look at this game, if Georgia scores 17 to 20 points, it's pretty much over. The key to this game will be Alabama's defense going against Georgia's offense. I mean, that's the whole key. Bryce Young, everything they're going to work offensively, they're going to do the best they can, but Georgia's just an elite defensive team. This is a game that I see 24 to 14, 21 to 10, somewhere in that range, and I'm going to take Georgia to win the game.
And teach Jameson Williams how not to launch himself.
Yeah, I bet he's not covering punts this week.
No.
Probably not.
I wouldn't have him out there.
He probably got fired because he targeted. Because it wasn't even close. Like he launched it, but I was like, yeah, that's targeting. He's screwed.
And if Jameson Williams plays in the game, like if that targeting doesn't happen, Alabama probably wins that game by 3 touchdowns. In the second half, it just breaks open, and they win that game relatively easy. But they were so reliant on Jameson Williams and Bryce Young right there, and both of their options weren't there. All of a sudden, they were in trouble. I was telling people all the time that Bryce Young means more to his Alabama team than Matt Corral means to the Ole Miss team.
And that's been proven this year. Bryce Young is that offense along with Jameson Williams and John Mechie. But real quick about the Iron Bowl game. They had I think his name was McCreary for Auburn. They had him covering Jameson Williams, and he did great early on. Jameson got the targeting penalty, got out of the game for the rest of the game. Then they moved him over to John Mechie. John Mechie struggled, against McCreary because he was just locking him down. He finally found some holes in the second half and got his stats up like he normally does, over 100 yards. But Alabama's got to have both of those guys on the field to have any kind of shot. And so do not do any kind of stupid targeting penalty, Jameson, and just go out there and ball out. But we got to have you.
Yeah, that's a key. That's a big key. And George Pickens is back. We'll see how much in the game plan.
That's exciting.
That's very exciting. So we'll see how he factors in there. But that's going to do it for us here on SEC After Dark. We, however you found us, looks like a lot more of you did. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for finding us. You can find the audio version on my Believe channel, Beast of the East. I will put this on that audio feed as well, so that you have it in podcast form. If you can't replay it on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever we are echoing and streaming. So we thank you for checking us out. If you want to be a sponsor, if you want to partner with our show, feel free to give us a shout at YCN_SEC. And then the rest of our stuff is right here down below. So like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Twitch. We are on Twitch. And follow us on Instagram as well, or you can follow my shows on Instagram at least. But we are going to we're going to come back at you next week. Jake and I will be a little bit different of a format. Steve will be in Disney World. He'll have his Mickey ears on, so we're going to have a little bit different feel to it. But I think you'll still see Jake and I, and maybe even Jeb if he's still available.
No, Jeb will be with me. He will not be there either.
No, what you need to do is you just need to patch in from Space Mountain.
Yeah.
While you're waiting in the 6-hour line.
Mm-hmm.
But you probably got the pass though, so you don't have to wait in those lines. But while you're on the ride, you need to tap in and be live on the show from the ride. I think that would be epic.
Just don't drop your phone.
Yeah, just don't do that.
Yeah. Hey, y'all do that. Send me the link. I'll absolutely go live from the park if I'm in there.
You know I'm going to send. You know I'm going to put the link in the Twitter feed. You already know. So.
We'll hold it down, Corey.
Yeah, we'll hold it down. Yeah, we got you. We got you. Yeah, Jake and I can. Jake and I, when the cat's away, whatever that saying is.
Um,
the cat's away, the mouse will play.
There you go. Whatever that saying is. So that's the programming note for next week. But tomorrow night, Jake and Stacy are probably going to be joining us on Believe in Georgia Dogs to talk further, to break this game down a little bit further. That will actually be live to tape and air on Friday morning, so you can check that out. We're going to do a re-air Friday morning of Beast of the East for those of you that may have missed it on Monday night. But if you haven't caught on, we are everywhere. We are everywhere. So you can find us and you can find me and just about anywhere these days. So, but that, like I said, that's going to do it for us. We are the SEC After Dark podcast. For Jake Thomas, for Stephen Willis, I am Corey Burton. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, peace.
Roll Tide.
Go Dogs.
Hotty toddy.
Gosh almighty.